You want to filibuster?
You can talk. You can talk. I'm just asking.
No. You're a filibuster.
He's not accurate. You're not very smart.
We are working.
We're deep in the details.
We're working within the goalposts. We're not saying we need to move the amount of cuts up, because goodness knows we moved the amount of spending yesterday with the SALT agreement. We're saying work within the goalposts, rearrange it within the goalposts, in accordance with what the president wants. End waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid, which is wasting dollars that should be spent on the truly vulnerable, and then end as much of the Green New Scam as possible.
Right. But Mr. Chairman, the President and the Speaker say you've gotten what you've asked for. You're saying they're wrong.
The White House last night. The White House last night.
He said you've reached
the White House last night sat down with us to address the concerns that we're talking about. The White House was very clear about what we're working on together to actually deliver on what the Chairman Harris, just talked about. And we're talking about specifics, man. I mean, what we're talking about here, you know the issues, you know the levers, right? We've been very public about this. There's been articles written. Some of you have written some actually reasonably honest articles about the extent to which you're having 7 times more money going to the able-bodied than the vulnerable. We're trying to fix that. We're trying to fix a system that is corrupt, so there's a money laundering machine where dollars go from red states and responsible, hardworking Americans to go to blue states like California to give money to people who are illegal or who are able-bodied. We want to fix that. That's what we're trying to address. And on the goalpost moving, that's utter nonsense. The fact of the matter is, this has massive savings in the out 5 years, and it has massive deficits in the first 5 years, because we're not addressing the structural reforms that we're talking about right here, including very specifically eliminating the 45% of the subsidies under the Green New Scam that continue. So that's what we're talking about. We're not moving goalposts. We want to save money. We want to save as much money as we can. But we want to do it the right way to deliver for hardworking Americans who are getting left behind by government here, Republican and Democrat, who keep spending money we don't have, racking up massive amounts of debt, driving up inflation so Americans can't afford homes, the Moody's bond rating gets dropped, and people are getting left behind. No more. Now's the time for transformative reform. We're going to work with the White House to deliver it.
The CBO said last night that it would increase the deficit.
All right. Well, we were just listening to a sort of impromptu press conference, essentially, among the Freedom Caucus members, some of these GOP holdouts on the Trump agenda, which has really turned a little bit heated there, Wolf, as they talked about Trump's agenda and some of the hangups. But they weren't really offering specifics. We know that Speaker Johnson wants to hold a vote tonight. Based on what we just heard, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Manu Raju, to bring you in, you were really pressing for more specifics on what they want, and you weren't getting them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got a sense of what they've wanted over the past couple of days and demanding deeper spending cuts. They had been concerned about the deficit, the fact that this bill, according to the Congressional Budget Office, could grow the deficit. And a deal that was cut yesterday with more moderate members to increase the amount that individuals and families can deduct from the state and local taxes that they pay. That was pushed by moderate Republicans, New York Republicans in particular, but that will increase the price tag of the bill. So these members are asking for more cuts, specifically deeper into Medicaid. There are a number of issues that they are still trying to sort out. That includes changing the formula to how the federal government pays into state-run Medicaid programs. There's a question ultimately about whether that's what these hardliners are pushing for. Also, how quickly to phase out these green energy tax credits that are part of the Inflation Reduction Act. There is some concern among these members initially about that are not being phased out quick enough. So I tried to get them to explain exactly if that is part of the issue. They suggested that that is part of the issue. But the big headline out of this is that they are saying that they are not ready to move and advance this bill. That was the first question I asked out of the gate. Are you ready to vote for this? Because the Speaker wants this approved today out of the House Rules Committee, on the House floor, and then onto the House chamber. But he can only afford to lose 3 Republican votes on a straight party line vote. But it's clear there, Pamela, based on what we heard from these members, he's not going to get there.
Yeah. All right, Manu, I want you to stand by. I want to bring in our correspondent, Jeff Zeleny, as well. It was interesting. Yesterday, as you remember, the president met with the Republicans in the House, and he called it a meeting of love. He seemed to be suggesting they were on the verge of a deal, but now we see the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Andy Harris, say, not this week. maybe 10 days, there could be a deal 10 days from now. And Chip Roy saying there's a long way to go. And I'm quoting him.
Look, and as you well know, Wolf, 10 days in a legislative impasse like this could well mean death in this. When something is close to the finish line, you have to keep pushing it toward the finish line. That's why I am learning that the White House and the president are likely to have Speaker Johnson and House Freedom Caucus members over again today to keep pushing this forward. The president presented a rosy picture yesterday after the meeting. There's no doubt about it. They've worked through the night on the budget bill here, but only the president probably can bridge this gap here. So this is very much an ongoing situation. The reason it matters for the president, for all the executive orders he's signed, and there have been hundreds and hundreds, this legislation is the absolute heart of his agenda going forward. He cannot really do anything without this passing. The tax cuts, of course, from 2017 will expire at the end of the year. The economy is watching this. The market is watching this. So this is very critical. So keep an eye on what the White House does today, what the president does. They want to have a vote this evening. Speaker Johnson earlier told our Lauren Fox it would come. The House Freedom Caucus is saying it won't come. We'll see what the president has to say about this. And as of now, every time the president kind of persuades and twists arms, it's worked. This is the biggest test yet.
We'll see if he has another meeting of love, as he called yesterday's meeting with the Republicans as well. Jeff Zeleny, thank you. Manu Raju, thanks to you as well. Pamela.
And right now, we just saw what the Freedom Caucus is saying. Frantic negotiations that they are happening on Capitol Hill as President Trump's agenda clearly is on shaky ground. These conservative hardliners we just heard from, they are arguing that spending cuts inside the massive bill don't go far enough, and they are threatening this possible revolt as Speaker Johnson tries to win them over. He wants that vote today. Doesn't look like it's going to happen based on what we just heard, but you never know. Let's discuss more now with Republican Congressman Brian Stile of Wisconsin. He is a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Hi, Congressman. I'm not sure if you were able to hear that sort of impromptu press conference from the Freedom Caucus, but the Freedom Caucus chair, Andy Harris, just said a few moments ago that his group of hardliners wants to deliver on the president's agenda. Another member, Chip Roy, said there's still a long...
All right, Congressman, look, Republicans have routinely trashed CBO scoring. We should say also routinely when the CBO has said this is going to add to the debt, it's added to the debt. Does it matter, though, at all? Does going another $2.3 trillion even matter anymore to people who say that they are fiscal conservatives?
Chris, I think something we've learned over the last few decades in American politics is that the party of fiscal responsibility is always the party out of power. So I don't think that that number is going to scare Republicans from voting from this bill. The biggest obstacle Republicans have now is these hardline members who really don't care about the interests about the majority makers, the centrist members that actually give either party the majority, and are going to insist on very, very ambitious cuts to programs that are popular, that are important for people's health, that are creating jobs throughout the country, that are making America more energy secure. So that is the big challenge for Republicans right now, not so much that big deficit number.
So, Michael, let's talk about the Democrats. They're pretty fired up about this. Here's a little bit of what we heard this morning from the Rules Committee about everything that they're talking about, the cuts to SNAP and Medicaid.
This is a backdoor attempt to force people off the benefit so you can take that money and pay for tax cuts for billionaires.
The purpose isn't to get people back to work. It's to kick people off of Medicaid. It's to not recognize the hard work of those that already are. Because as you put it, 92%? 92% of adults under 65 on Medicaid are already working or can't work because they're caregiving, illness, they're going to school. So don't tell us about work, because we come from families that work. We come from families that get our hands dirty.
But if these aid programs, Michael, are going to be cut, is there a legitimate concern that that kind of message isn't going to land until we actually see the real world impact of it?
No, this is campaign gold. I mean, the idea that Republicans would mess with Medicare, which is wildly popular with seniors, is political suicide. It makes absolutely no sense. And let's not forget that seniors are our largest and most engaged voting bloc in America.
And so I don't know any politician that will privately tell you that's a good idea.
All right. So, Congressman, the president, behind closed doors on the Hill Tuesday, told Republicans, you just heard it, not to F with Medicaid. That's according to lawmakers who were in the meeting. Yet there are still, it looks like, potentially going to be huge cuts. Will voters buy that this is all because of waste, fraud, and abuse when grandma gets kicked off of the program?
Well, Chris, it depends how steep the cuts are. Look, we know that this bill is likely to improve in this sense in the Senate. The cuts are likely to be less extreme in the Senate. The president himself said yesterday that he prefers the Senate version, whatever it is that they're working on, even though that's not fully public yet. But what the president wants is for these members to continue moving this process, and he doesn't want them to pursue a lot of these unpopular spending cuts. And look, there's tension in the Republican Party because we're in a situation where the president is a populist. He does not support the kinds of cuts that were associated with the Republicans in the past. But in Congress, there's still a lot of Republicans there who are big fans of massive cuts to government spending. So that's the tension we're seeing right now. We'll see if the president in this White House meeting can push these members to just get over these objections and move the bill.
It's going to be interesting to see because
be clear. What this was a glorified Trump rally that backfired. Trump said to himself, well, I don't convince people with my intellect, right? I don't convince people with my moral clarity and my moral consistency. I'm not like a Bernie Sanders type who could say, I've been right for 40 years on all these issues, so you should listen to me. I convince people through bullying, through threats, and through spectacle. And that has worked at times. Like, to his credit, the scumbag that he is, it's worked. And so Trump's like, I'm doing a Trump rally on Capitol Hill. I'm going to go there and I'm going to do a Trump rally. I'm going to bring all the cameras. I'm going to bring all the right-wing media. I'm going to bring all the people. I'm going to make this a Trump rally in the People's Congress. It's very different than the Trump rallies in the cow field in a lot of ways, in the fields in the middle of nowhere. But it's not fundamentally different, right? And it failed. All these people and the Republicans who are turning on him, these are often the Republicans that would go to Trump's rallies and be in the crowd and be in the background and often come up on stage, these MAGA conservatives, to be alongside Trump and say, I'm here with the God Emperor. And now that he does a Trump rally in Congress, it fails. As a lot of the right-wing Republicans, again, all Republicans are right-wing, but the most right-wing Republicans say, no, we're not in. We're not in because this doesn't go far enough. It doesn't destroy enough working-class lives. We want true suffering for the 99%. You're only giving them big suffering, Donald. We want them to really, truly suffer. And on the other hand, you have Republicans who see that if there's any significant cuts to social programs, more than we've seen, they're going to lose their House district. If you're, suburban districts in California and New York and other places that they barely held on in 2024, like they're cooked if this bill passes, even anything resembling it. And so the Trump rally failed. He tried to do a rally at Congress, and all he did was expose that his rallies don't work anymore.